Yo, what is up, you lot? My name is SIFmasry. Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video talking about Kenny in season 4. Before we get straight into the video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the recent support of my channel. It's been doing amazing. I know I haven't uploaded in like 4 or 5 weeks. That's because I've had exams. Obviously those exams are out of the way and done for now. So obviously now this is the summer break for me. I will be producing, and you know, some people may say I'll be milking our Walking Dead season 4 content. However, I do love this game. I love the developers, I love the series, and of course I love YouTube, so obviously got to combine all of those. Anyway guys, thank you guys so much. Obviously let's get straight into the video. Make sure to always subscribe, like and comment if you are new around here. I produce the latest videos I can possibly do. And yeah, let's get straight into it. Now, the Walking Dead season 4 discussion video this is not a theory. So a theory video, when I make it, is something that where I talk about something that is semi-plausible and possible, whereas a discussion is something that can't happen or has an extremely low percentage of happening. So I would say this video is more of a discussion rather than a theory. So the real question is, will Kenny be in season 4, the final season? Now I wanted to talk about this because Telltale actually did mention about a returning character or two in season 4, the final season, returning. So a lot of people talk about Krista and Lily. I wanted to switch things up and talk about Kenny. Now, the only way you would get Kenny to even be plausibly possible to actually exist in your universe in the final season is if you get a particular ending where if you allow Kenny to kill Jane, then you forgive him for killing Jane, which then you actually decide both to go to Wellington and then leave him behind for the sake of you and AJ, and of course AJ's best interest being safety. What would Kenny be doing? Let's just recap some of the context of his background if he ever returned. What would happen about Kenny if you actually decide to go into Wellington and of course leave him behind. While we are inside of Wellington after we left Kenny, Clementine and AJ would have settled into Wellington and become the newest addition of the community. If you, however, do leave with Kenny, he proposes the idea that there's no point trying to survive for the odd chance that Wellington might actually accept you later if the community numbers do go down.
So I've been thinking, it's no use surviving out here, hoping that Wellington will take us in someday. I bet we find some good people down in Florida. Maybe even a little friend for this goofball. Wouldn't that be nice?
Now, you could say Kenny may have waited longer and not head down to Florida like he wanted to if Clementine doesn't come with him. So of course, imagine if you are in Wellington with AJ, he's more likely to be depressed and head south earlier than you would have thought. Now, Kenny's a very, I would say, family-based man. You know, he cares about his family, that's his first priority. Whereas, for example, another person like Jane, who's kind of the antithesis of Kenny, where she found resources more important than people. Of course, Kenny obviously suggests that we head down to Florida, which is kind of ironic because he wanted to head down to Wellington for the idea that it's cold and there's walkers being slow, etc. So the survival rates are higher.
Supposed to be a big camp up near Michigan.
Michigan?
You got a hearing problem, kid? Yeah, Michigan. Think about it. Fresh water, lots of land, and cold-ass winters so the walkers get slow.
Sounds like bullshit.
Yo, VIP. Listen, Vanilla Ice, I don't know what your deal is, but you're more than welcome to take off.
However, he does say go down to Florida, find a boat. Very season 1 mindset like. So Kenny heads down to south. Of course, what is south? Javier. Now, there is an off chance that somehow Kenny actually helps Javier escape from Rufus at the very beginning, of course, where Rufus actually holds him hostage and brings him back to a new frontier. So of course Kenny could have actually filled Clementine's space there, and we could have met him earlier in season 4. If Clementine did stay in Wellington, then Kenny might have actually stopped the truck and actually saved Javier for the sake of being a good man. Then we would have met him much earlier. However, in season 4, imagine if Kenny somehow does manage to go to a new frontier where Javier is actually in charge. So what would happen then? Obviously Clementine is up around the area, around the boarding school, as we've seen in gameplay. Obviously Kenny could still be alive. I mean, his face is technically unknown if you do have the Wellington ending. Whether Kenny does kind of trust in Javier, trust even in the community, of course his dreams were shattered after Wellington. Either we actually meet Kenny through Clementine actually going to the boarding school, doing whatever happens, and then maybe on the off chance that Clementine actually goes back to New Richmond for a season full ending, which although they didn't really specify that this is where they were taking it, obviously as you can see on the screen right now, they talk about how we're probably not going to see the Garcias. It only leaves me to say that maybe actually it's more likely for those with the Wellington endings to actually meet Kenny near the boarding school. Now this is very important because then we can actually include Kenny to become this overseer, overlooker of the boarding school. So of course the boarding school is full of teenagers, which I have to actually discuss with Infernicon. Right there on the screen, you can check it out. We'll talk about the season 4 teenagers, etc. So we talk about actually how there might be an overseer, an overlooker, a leader in charge of the boarding school. Now of course Clementine and Kenny has had quite a good bond between each other, and of course he said that Clementine is the best second chance he could ask for, because obviously after Doc he wasn't really the best father.
You know, I always dreamed about the day I'd teach Duck to drive. You're the best second chance I could ask for.
However, with Clementine, he was very much more protective just because he didn't want to produce the same outcome. He didn't want the same outcome to happen for Clementine. So of course, he could be more attached to the children in a non-creepy way, which means that we could actually meet him if you had the Wellington ending through the boarding school, actually someone being in charge of the boarding school. We talk about how it could be Lily or Krista. What if it's Kenny? What if it's Kenny? I mean, there's a lot of time that goes by between, of course, season 3's Wellington and then the actual end of season 3, which is actually it's a long time if you think about it. There's a time skip, multiple time skips actually between Wellington and the present day. And so obviously it's not undeniable, it's not completely out of the window that Kenny could actually be the leader perhaps of the boarding school. Obviously it's not very possible when compared to saying Lily or Krista, but they do mention a returning character or two. So I do hope that Kenny is somehow in season 4 for those with the Wellington ending. It would be very wow just from Telltale. You know, it's the final season, they might as well go all out. So of course no one really talked about Kenny being in season 4 in terms of him maybe being in charge of the boarding school or something along those lines. Now of course we will talk about Kenny being in the past. He is dead in 3 out of the 4 scenarios you can have. Obviously you can have him with you and then dies in a car crash, kill him earlier, or just go alone, and then I'm guessing you can die or kill both. So obviously a very low percentage of people would actually have Kenny possibly being alive. I do believe the Wellington ending was actually one of the least popular choices in the series. I even believe the Alone ending was actually more popular in terms of actually percentage numbers. However, that did not stop from Telltale from actually producing a determinate story for a lot of people. For example, the Conrad situation, where around 90%, 95% of people actually shot Conrad in order to save Clementine and not betray her in season 1 episode 2. 5% of people would have actually been able to keep Conrad alive through all 5 episodes. So that clearly didn't stop Telltale from actually producing a determinate and actually being able to branch off. Now the only problem is that obviously it was very easy for Conrad. A lot of people talked about how Conrad was a very good determinate character. I didn't think so. It was just a very cheap way to actually include him because he didn't have that many scenes, except for maybe season 1 episode 3, maybe that, and then that's it really. Episode 4 and 5 it's kind of more of a gimmick. If Kenny was to return, he's too much of an important character to be, you know, in one of the least amount of playthroughs, because if you think about it, Kenny is a very important guy. He's probably one of the most important people to Clementine. Lee, AJ and Kenny are probably the most important people in Clementine's life. So, you know, Kenny can't be replaceable with a different character because he's just so important. And then if Telltale doesn't make him, you know, a great character with an important role, then it wouldn't make sense for Clementine and Kenny to meet, because it would just be such an unnatural relationship. So thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously that was me talking about Kenny in season 4. I hope you like it. I'm obviously trying to do different videos. A lot of people are doing more or less the same videos, and I'm trying to just find these little small points that I can talk about, and even though it's not the most plausible idea, I do believe, you know, we all love Kenny. We do all love Kenny. I'm willing to forgive those who did choose the Jane ending. Now I know I'm talking about season 2 thing, however in season 4 it's not the most plausible thing. However, there's always a chance it could happen, and this is why I discuss these kind of things on my channel, because it is possible. Other than that, thank you guys so much. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, tell me your opinions, and share your thoughts on this matter about Clementine and Kenny being even in season 4. If he's not, then I hope at least we can get a flashback of Lee/Kenny. I don't know. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the description. Other than that, thank you guys so much, and in a bit.
This helps both of us.
I'm just gonna go.
Don't take another step.
Javi, please.
You know this will work.
Holy shit. Oh my god. You two should go.
What about you?
I'll find my own way.